Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabans, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. Malika Andrews is back at it again. As you guys know, I'm not a fan of Malika Andrews, and we're certainly not fans of Malika Andrews on this channel. And it really dates all the way back to the Ime Udoka scandal from a few years ago. As you guys remember, when that scandal initially broke, a lot of people were jumping to conclusions. And one of those people was Malika Andrews, to the point where she made an absolute ass of herself on ESPN First Take, and Stephen A. Smith essentially had to check her on live air because she went on Stephen A. Smith's show, essentially trying to say that you're not going to make this about women and all of this when we didn't even have the details. A lot of people were talking about Ime Udoka was in a position of power. How could we have known he was in a power position when we didn't even know who the person was at the time? But that's the assumption that the public was willing to make. And a lot of men fell suit because a lot of men like to pander. Oh, he shouldn't have done this. He shouldn't have done that. Was it stupid for him to do what he did? It worked? Yes. But it was between two consenting adults at the end of the day. But Malika was trying to make it look like it was just him. Similar thing that Sage Steele, they're the same thing. And Malika Andrews is a feminist. There's no question about it. And she has selective outrage. Whenever it's a black athlete, she has a lot to say. She's always the front on the front. And she's been roasted and called out for this for years now. Even going back to the Charlotte Hornets player, Brandon Miller, during his draft night. Then after they tried to, after the Celtics decided they were going to suspend him, and ultimately fire him, I believe, they were now going off to thinking of signing Joe Mazzulla. Then she went on air and started pulling up his old dirty. I'm like, what is this? Who sent you? So we all know that, but when it came time for the Josh Giddey thing, she was quiet as a church mouse. And essentially ESPN had to force her to say something because of her reputation. Like, we all know this. This is Malika Andrews. And this is why most of us don't like her. So what happened? Just the other night, there was the NBA draft, right? And you had a lot of these young men who are seen their dreams come true, going to the NBA. And a lot of them were with their families crying and excited and all of that. But Malika Andrews went out of her way on multiple occasions to do everything but mention the fathers that were in attendance. She essentially made the entire thing about what the mothers did. And let me say this. Mothers are important. And they play a significant role in a child's life. But so does the father. But if you listen to Malika Andrews, you would have thought that these children were just born with one, like they didn't even have other parents there. You would have thought that they had deadbeat dads. Meanwhile, the fathers were in attendance and she didn't even have one mumbling word to mention about them. And the internet dragged her for it. But before we even get into these videos here, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, Decagon. As a business owner, I know that the best customer experience is when it feels personal, that every customer has their own feeling. But the more you grow, the more requests start coming in, the more you start to lose that personal touch. So a lot of companies decide to turn to AI. And I have to tell you, I am not a fan of these sloppy AIs that whenever you call them and you're looking for customer support, they simply don't do a good job. And it's usually at this moment where companies lose that personal touch with their customers. That's where Decagon comes in. Decagon helps companies create personalized, concierge-style customer experiences with AI agents across chat, email, voice, and SMS. They're available 24/7, feel natural to talk to, and can resolve customer requests on their own so businesses can keep up with the requests without losing their personal touch. And because workflows can be updated using natural language, teams can make changes themselves without long engineering cycles. Decagon gives your team full visibility into why agents make decisions and what's happening across every conversation. So it's easier to spot trends and improve the experience over time. Decagon helps power millions of conversations every day for brands you know, like Avis, Affirm, Fanatics, and Aura. Ready to transform your customer support? Go to decagon.ai/DREAMERSPRO to get a personalized demo and see what Decagon can do for your team. That's decagon.ai/DREAMERSPRO. Okay, fantastic. So what we want to do is we're going to play these videos back to back. The second video is going to be of Carlos Boozer's son. And then we're going to come back and react to the comments. Take a look at the footage here.
Yaxel credits his mother, Giselle, with saving his life. when he was struggling in high school, and he told me that when he walks across the stage, he wants people to know that there were so many times, he said, that it was hard for me to believe in myself, and he was close to giving up. And this woman, Giselle, it was his mom, who used to call him every single draft night and ask him, are you watching? Because someday this could be you, and someday this could be us. And Yaxel found out that his mom had appendix cancer last fall, and she's still in that fight. But he told me that this moment is for her. You can see that here. A tremendous story, Jay, and a tremendous player.
And NCAA champion, you see him there, Carlos Boozer. But it was his mom, Cameron told me, who drove him to every single practice, every tournament, helped him find all of his trainers. He, of course, played with his twin brother, Caden, at Duke as well. And this quote...
Fantastic. So you saw that. I just want to go through some of the comments. We don't have to put it up. I'll just go through some of the comments here. One person said, as a woman, I do not like this take. Carlos Boozer was a beast. He deserves credit for instilling the love of the game to all his sons. I'm for all moms, but when your pops literally played in the NBA, you gotta give him his flowers. Another person says she's not good enough at sportscasting to be the lead voice on an NBA draft. I'm not saying she's awful, but she's just not that good. Kind of boring voice, blah, 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 blah. Another person is saying, so he plays basketball because of his mom, even though his dad is a former NBA player. What a effing joke this network is. Another guy says, as a man, I feel like I need to tell you that this sounds like you're an incel. And it just goes on and on and on. People are just roasting. Here's my take on this, right? Malika Andrews is a feminist. And there's nothing wrong with supporting women and all of that. Certainly women need to be supported. And I'm 100% behind that. But it shouldn't be done at the expense of men. And we all know a lot of the stigmas that exist in the world out there, where they say black fathers are absent, they don't do anything. We just watched Jalen Brunson, who's black, win a title, and his father was standing right there with him. His father was standing right there with it kills that talking point. But for Malika to go out of her way to not even mention Carlos Boozer, she didn't even mention him. So the fact that Carlos Boozer played in the NBA, he clearly benefited from his father's genetics, clearly. You don't think the father played any role? I had to do some research before doing this show. I even saw videos and pictures of Carlos Boozer at his son's games, cheering for him. She didn't even mention the father. I'm not saying mention the father alone and omit the mother. Mention his parents if both people are in attendance. They're both in their children's lives. Mention it. But she did that on purpose because that's who she is. That is who Malika Andrews is, and no one should be surprised why a lot of people are not fans of hers. I'm certainly not a fan of her at all because I believe she has selective outrage. I believe when it's time to go after black athletes, she's the first one in line. The first one. She's the first one to say something. But then when there's another athlete, she has nothing to say. She has absolutely nothing to say. Nothing. You're supposed to be protecting women. Protecting everybody. I don't see it. I just see you only singling out black athletes, and it doesn't sit well with me. But this is the reputation that she's developed. This is the reputation. If you saw the way that she was speaking to Stephen A. Smith, this is not the first time she's done it. She even did it to Kendrick Perkins doing that Ime Udoka thing. No, not Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick Perkins, she just cut him off. Matt Barnes tried to get a word in. She cut him off. By simply bringing up the woman that was that agreed to the consensual sex, you're trying to make it about women. But it's okay to talk, and this is what ESPN promotes. Because I remember the time when Jalen Rose was on the network, and he said, "But wait a minute, why is it okay to talk about Ime, but you can't mention the woman?" Do you know what happened? The next commercial break, Jalen Rose had to read an apology on air. He had to read an apology. And many of us were like, wait a minute, this guy was able to go through this case during one commercial break? He was able to figure this out in one commercial break. He had to apologize on live air. Because on ESPN, it's open season. Why do you think Stephen A. Smith has the green light to constantly go after Jaylen Brown? That's what they do over there. Then that's their work. And Malika Andrews is one of the people that propagates this. This is why no one likes her. Sorry to break it to you. Most men don't like Malika Andrews. They don't. For things like this. Even when she did the Brandon Miller thing at the draft, even white content creators, white male content creators were calling her out for that. White ones, not even black, even white guys were like, what is this? Like, what is this? What do you have against men? You're a sportscaster or whatever it is, but you don't like men. What? Like, how does it work? How does it work? I don't get it. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you guys on the next show. Peace.